you're from Guam originally?
Yes, right.
And when did you start in the martial arts in Guam?
That was during the early 60s, and it was with a sensei named Moon Watanabe, Sensei Moon Watanabe. In fact, he's still alive. He is in Bakersfield, California, living there now with his daughter. He was a judo instructor, judo champion, sumo champion. I found that out later on. And great fella, actually should have been ranked higher, fourth dan in judo. Amazing thing was, Wally J told me he threw the great Kobudo, who is one of the legends of judo, and was instantly promoted to his fourth dan rank from that. So studying under him, great influence on me. No ego, just hard work. Very good sensei, yes. Like a father to me, okay? And at that time, I also snuck out and saw, at that time you were supposed to be very, very strong with your instructor. And I loved my instructor. But I also wanted to learn jiu-jitsu, which was the fighting part, predecessor to judo. So I found my other sensei, Professor Sig Kulfred, who actually turned out to be the pointed heir of Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu. Now, at that time, I didn't know. In fact, you just called him Sig. That's all you called him. Learned out later that he was a professor, grandmaster in Danzanryu system, headed the system. Like I said, pointed heir. And very humble man again, very skilled. You knew right away that you were learning under somebody, just like Moon, somebody very unusually skilled, very gentle though, very gentle. As time passed, and remember at that time, like I said, the discipline was to be very, very tight with your instructor, never stray from that instructor. And my love was for judo, but also I wanted the fighting end, which was jiu-jitsu. I thought both the instructors wouldn't know. Later on, it turned out they're both from Hawaii, both knew each other, both knew I was going back and forth. It was quite a mind blower for me, because again, that feeling at that time. But the Islanders, if you know something about the islands, they're very close. The Ohana situation. So I think that kind of overruled that mindset of the Japanese or the Okinawans for that very closed study my system and no one else's. It turned out well for me. I still love them both. One died, Sig Kulfred. One's still alive, like I said, Sensei Watanabe. Yeah.
So when you were coming up then, they didn't mind that you were training with them?
They didn't.
Were they still friendly?
They were still friendly, yeah. Sig, in fact, Sig's instructor was, I'm thinking of the daughter's name, Imi Okazaki. Henry Okazaki was the founder of Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu. The tie-in there was kind of funny because you had Danzanryu, which is one of the major systems in Hawaii, starting at Kaji Kenbo, Danzanryu Lua, which was the Hawaiian system. But in Danzanryu, Henry Okazaki opened up the famous Danzanryu dojo. His son actually studied judo under Sensei Watanabe. And I have a picture, which is historical, where he actually taught at the time at Wally J's garage, because in those days there was garages and things like that. Taught there, went to the national championships in Hawaii, cleaned up there. Of course, again, he was a Hawaii champion, judo and sumo. And the picture that they took after winning that was taken at Okazaki's studio, the Danzanryu studio. And again, there you have the tie-in, because Sig was the appointed inheritor of Danzanryu, and Moon was part of it because he actually taught Okazaki's son judo, and they won the nationals over there. So everything was tying in. some way. And later on, I started a group called the World Head of Family. This was in 1992. Some of the greatest martial artists in the world joined. Really unusual. If you want something to back up the theory that there is someone watching over you, guiding your footsteps, this proved it to me. Yeah, a boy from Guam, I come to the United States, started something locally, took in one grandmaster who was a friend of mine. And then later on, Peter Urban. This is one of the arguments about Peter Urban or Robert Trias, Ed Parker, the three. One of them was the very first karate instructor for America. Well, Peter Urban became my advisor. No complaints. He just joined. And his instructor, Dr. Richard Kim, also came in and was giving donations to the World Head of Family. That is my group. And it was very unusual for them to have that much trust in me without any really knowing who I am, coming from Guam. Stranger still, when I started this group, Sig was still alive, Sig Corfred. Richard Van Donk, who is one of the heads of the, he was one of the grandmasters of the Bunjinkan system under Masaki Hatsumi, told me, I have a surprise for you. I said, good, I'd like to hear it, Richard. He goes, do you know Sig Corfred? I said, sure, I do. That's my instructor. He goes, well, he's a member of the World Head of Family. You know that, right? I found out he joined my group. And then time passed. Of course, he passed away. I got Leslie Corfred to join me, who is the daughter of Sig. Moon Watanabe came on board years later, my judo instructor. And it was like, if you were to ask me how I really started this, I couldn't tell you. Just everybody started coming in. We have, without question, if you look at the names, we have the very best of the best in this council. And again, so the man upstairs, he guides everything. And you just don't know how it starts, but it starts.
Maybe not how, but why? What led you to create the World Head of Family?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. First of all, I think it might have started when I founded my system in Guam. This was 1971. In 1977, a book came out on my system, just in Guam. A man by the name of Emil Farkas heard about it, Official Karate Magazine, one of the historians of karate, and put it in Official Karate Magazine. You know, mentioned about a guy from Guam. He's got this book. It got attraction from people in Russia and other countries from that one magazine. He got me in the Guam Museum. My book made the libraries in Guam. They're in the reference section. Also in the University of Guam. It's in there. Came out to... Originally, I wanted to go to Nashville. I was an entertainer, actually, in Guam. Yeah, entertainer, recording artist at the time. And I went to Nashville and all those things. Had moderate success. And I settled in Jacksonville because Jacksonville seemed to have more of a hometown type of thing and a closeness like Guam had, which was very good. Not really a martial arts town, per se, but it had all this facets of those things you look for when you're raising a family. So ended up there. I gave up music because I had a family to support. It's a good thing if you're single, I think, to go on that. And settled into teaching my art. Taught it as karate because that seemed to be the buzzword. And you get people into your dojo. Later on, I decided to be truthful, and call it Senjutsu. I have schools worldwide. So I was very lucky with that. Traveled to Russia, Germany, and places like that. The council itself evolved from what was called the American Martial Arts Alliance, something I set up, which again was successful without me really putting any effort. So again, you know that someone's guiding you in something. Had it nationwide, had my own school internationally. Decided, well, let's see if I can unite some of the higher ranked ones. Started locally in Jacksonville. One gentleman. It blossomed with people, with word of mouth going back and forth. I ended up with people like, Masaki Itsumi from Japan, Jihan J, who is the head of Hapkido or Sinmo Hapkido. Just many others. I said Masaki Itsumi, Kakoi Kanedi from the Philippines, etc. It just kept on blossoming. People would talk about it, and then other people would come in. So very lucky, I think. Again, I don't think if you had to plan your life, you could really plan it. You really can't. Circumstance happens and things develop. As I went through these things, Black Belt did me a favor because they knew I was with these associations I started these associations. Asked me to do a article. Floyd Burke, who is now a good friend of mine, wrote an article on the traditional arts. And they said, we want a counterpoint argument. Would you be interested in writing an article on the newer arts? So I wrote the article. I used Wally J as an example, who's a member of my council. Bill Wallace, who's a member of my council. And they printed it. And then after that, it kind of opened up a floodgate. They started printing more and more about the newer arts. So I think that was a kind of a catalyst, and it helped me. It also, in some way, I think helped Black Belt to open up a little bit on the newer arts. And I think it's really good. I think the ending of my article was kind of rang a bell with everyone. Everything starts out as a new art, and then through tradition or time, it becomes the old art. So it comes full circle. So I think these arguments, which is best, traditional or the newer arts, it's all moot if you really think about it. They're one and the same. One is young, one is mature. So over time, it becomes the traditional art. So I think in that way of thinking, that's the way I think, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same way, that this is the correct way of thinking, openness about other arts, absorbing what is useful, as Bruce Lee put it, and forming it to your body and your way of thinking. So to say that I purposely started out to build something or to develop an art, it's not true. Time and circumstance, I guess, as you go on, you find that it's a natural progression of things, if you think about it. If I had, some people have a choice. Sometimes your instructor is there, and you choose to stay with them, and you don't lose that instructor. The instructor is always there. You progress in that system. And sometimes you grow, you lose your instructor by moving, and then you have to go on from there. I was very lucky because I got my instructors back. They actually, something that I would never fathom, these great men joined my organization. I was a student. And with that being said, I think you're always the student. You're always proud of your instructors. I said to Moon, again, he's still alive, I said, anytime you want, sir, the belt is yours. I'll take my belt off for you anytime. I said, no, I'm very proud of you, which is something you would expect from a father. So I was very proud of that. Again, your instructors are like your fathers, you know. So you have to honor them, good and bad. And that's kind of the story of my life, I guess. I guess that's it. As far as how I develop things, my art of Senjutsu and the World Head of Family. Again, it's nothing planned. It just happens. Eventually, you get something with good people coming in.
Does the World Head of Family have a official mission statement, or what are some of your core ideals for the World Head of Family?
Yeah, the mission statement is trying to create a collaboration of the highest ranking in support of one another. The ideals are, well, it's international, isn't it? It's like United Nations. You try to take the negative, and if you can't eliminate it, at least make it decline a little bit, bring out the positive, and you try to get people together. So that's what we're doing, and it's working.
Probably maybe my most important question, whether it's martial arts or just life in general, what advice would you give to young people that are growing up today?
I think, my personal thing, and I've kind of found that this is very profound and true, that if you pursue a goal, it doesn't have to be martial arts, anything you want to do, if you have the talent, that's a big thing too, you've got to have the talent for it. If you strive for it, your biggest enemy is going to be yourself. You put that aside. You argue with yourself. Let the positive come out. You pursue it. Surround yourself with some good people. You can attain your goals as long as they're realistic. You go after them, and they're good. Because my concept, and again, everybody's concept is a little different. Everybody's truth is a little bit different. But I believe that good will always prevail over evil, and that if your intent is good, karma comes in the picture, and everything falls into place. And I feel it's God. In some other culture, you might think of him as some other deity name, but I think they're all the same. If you think good, good karma comes to you, and you achieve what you need to achieve. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say today?
Well, I want to thank you for interviewing me. Appreciate that. I'm just a humble instructor. And again, I think if you have goals and ambitions, just pursue them. And don't let anyone talk you out of it. Just pursue them the best you can. Attain them. Always have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. And attain them. Like water, and we've all heard that. Bruce Lee saying, can't go through it, the obstacle, go around, over, under. Don't let it stop you. As long as you're pursuing something good, you're all right.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, thank you very much.